Hi, everyone. This is Mike Brown from the Indiana Jewish Historical Society. I want to wish Congregation Achduth Vesholom a happy 175th anniversary and recognize you as the first Jewish congregation in Indiana's history. And I'd like to jump into a little bit of about the history of that today with you, if you don't mind. So today, I want to look at the year 1848, the year that Achduth Vesholom was founded. Um, just as many Jews followed their enlightened non-Jewish colleagues that they believed that they could find a better world outside of Europe after the failures of the 1848 revolution. Um, Many Jews in Europe from German-speaking backgrounds decided to leave Central Europe and come to the United States in order to break with the old order of inequality and serfdom that they saw in Europe. And as a result of the failures of 1848, um, some of the Jews who came to America started to move in a pattern with their non-Jewish colleagues who were also German speaking, and we can kind of get an idea of where they spread out to different parts of the Midwest, with Indiana right in the middle of this large immigration pattern in the late 1840s that brought many German speakers the to the United States. Um, so back to here. What's the kind of looking at the time frame of when Achduth Shalom was founded? Um, One of the incredible things is that the first synagogue in Brooklyn, New York, was also established in 1848. That's how important this year was. And here we can see a a a form that discuss a deed for seating at Achduth Shalom for high holidays from 1861, from the beginning of the American Civil War. So, in the founding document of Achduth Shalom, in the Constitution, there's an amazing quote that appears. It says, "We who, like so many other immigrants from Europe, have come to these shores to find a refuge from European tyranny. We have left our homes, relatives, and everything in our youth that was dear and sacred to us. We feel abandoned by everyone when we face adversity, bereft of ultimate consolation of our religion. We, the undersigned citizens of Indiana, have joined together to help each other in any adversity life may bring us, and to provide the final honors of our members. We have chosen the name Organization for Visiting the Sick and Burial of the Dead from the Constitution and bylaws of Chevras Bechor Cholim Ukvuras Mesim, also known as the Society for Visiting the Sick and Burying the Dead, in 1848. So, why Fort Wayne, you might be asking? Why did Fort Wayne become an early Jewish hub? Well, the reason is that the opening of the Erie Canal and the fact that Fort Wayne, as you're all aware, was connected by three rivers, and most of the early cities and towns in Indiana's Jewish history were connected by rivers, such as Evansville, Lafayette, which is actually the second Jewish community to open a synagogue in Indiana, and Madison. Which was actually one of the early larger cities in Indiana history. Another great innovation was the creation of the steam engine. Um, and that was played a very big role in carrying more immigrants across the Atlantic. Another really interesting fact about Achduth Shalom was that probably a majority of them came from Firth. And the reason why we know this is that the majority of the immigrants came from Bavarian backgrounds in the 1840s and 1850s to Indiana and the Midwest. And nearly half of all Bavarian Jews actually lived in the smaller city of Firth. And so it would make sense that the first customs or minhag of Achduth Shalom was called Minhag Firth, or the religious customs of Firth. Um, and this played out in the religious traditions, prayer melodies, And which is interesting because not all the members were from Fürth. In fact, the first president, Friedrich Nördlinger, was from Schwabia, and probably had a different Nusach or different Jewish prayer rituals. But this was sort of a compromise because most likely the majority of them had some type of connection to the city of Fürth and its Jewish traditions. Um, so, what exactly was a synagogue in the 19th century? So, a synagogue was a place where you can see from this help wanted sign that's coming from the Occident, from the Occident, an American Jewish advocate from 1862, that's asking for a moil, a shochet, a shachtan, and a hazan. So it's asking for a ritual circumciser, a uh, a ritual butcher, and a cantor, and someone who could also teach in Hebrew and German. So, why is this important? Because the synagogue wasn't just a religious center, it was a place of Jewish life where one could find kosher meat and one could find Jewish services from cradle to grave. So, all the way from circumcision to burial and everything in between, including they could also receive a secular and a religious Jewish education. Um, so you'll get an idea of that from this. So in a way, the CAV Congregation Achduth Vesholom was more like a mutual aid society that provided marriages, kosher meat, funerals, grade school, health insurance, and medical aid to the poor, and also collected money for the poor as well to help the least fortunate members of their community. So, a little bit about the Nerdlingers. So, they first came to Philadelphia. He was a major merchant and owner of the New York store. He was a city council member in 1865, was director of the First National Bank. And sorry for my mispronunciation of this, he was the founder of the militia organization known as the Kikianga Guards. And his sons, Max and Samuel, were actually some of the first known Jewish students at Notre Dame. Um, so the first Jewish services that we know of in Fort Wayne were held inside the Nerdlinger home. Um, and here's a little bit about the purchase of the first cemetery that's now in McCulloch Park. Um, it started with 23 members, and it was located on the home was located on the southwest corner of Main and Harrison Streets. Um, So here we get to a newspaper clipping from a German newspaper produced by Isaac Mayer Wise. Um, this was the German version of kind of the German version of the American Israelite, discussing the opening of a local Jewish community that had bought a German Methodist church on Harrison Street. And this is in 1859. This is when they purchased their actual first synagogue building and moved out of the Nerdlinger home. Um, and what's really, really interesting and significant about this in 1859 is that Isaac Leeser, who was actually the publisher of that newspaper article, of that newspaper, The Occident, actually came to uh, he actually was the guest speaker there at the opening of the first synagogue. And it was an Orthodox synagogue, and Isaac Leeser himself was a proponent of Orthodox Judaism in America. Um, and at that time, there were not professional rabbis, but rather they went by the title of reverend. They tended to be cantors, and maybe they had another skill such as a shochet or a moil, a ritual circumciser, or a ritual butcher, kosher butcher. Um, and then here we see from 1862 onwards, Rabbi Edward Rubin, who comes in. who is closer to Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise of the Reform movement. And this starts to begin the transition of the congregation to become a Reform congregation as it continues to be to the current day. And this is an article discussing that from 1865, again from the Occident. Here's another picture of the next Achduth Vesholom that was built in the 1870s, I believe, and a very, very beautiful, beautiful architectural style. My last point that I want to make that makes Achduth Vesholom so important and so innovative and so special is that Rabbi Israel Aaron would become one of the first graduates of the Hebrew Union College, the first rabbinical school in American history, and he would become one of the first rabbis to serve a congregation in America who had graduated from the Hebrew Union College. So, in other words, Achduth Vesholom had one of the first graduates of an of the first class of rabbinical students who were educated in America in Cincinnati, which is very, very significant. So starting in 1863, he became one of the first American ordained rabbis in U.S. history to serve as a pulpit rabbi at Achduth Vesholom, which is a huge, momentous history breaking event, and very, very important. And a real source of pride for Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise and for American Judaism in general. So I just want to let you know, I want to wish you a happy 175th birthday there at Achduth Vesholom in Fort Wayne. And hopefully we can celebrate another 175 together. Take care. Be well.